Hello, everybody, and welcome to this next session. What we're going to be talking about in this 30-minute session is we're going to be looking around events, online events, hybrid, the technology around online events and how we can look at sustainability and also the future. So I'm delighted to have joining us today, Stuart Mitchel, Sales Director for Intelligo. And we're on the Intelligo platform here, so you will have all been able to experience it. But Stuart, can you give our audience a bit of an overview about who Intelligo are and what you guys do?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for letting me join you today. I appreciate it. Intelligo was formed literally just before the pandemic hit. I think the guys that built it were event managers, event professionals that have been in the industry for donkey's years and understood the industry and could see a niche in the market, and thankfully had the technical ability to be able to foresee it. It was originally built as an education platform. They've been working on it to try and do something within the education program. Before COVID, it had been kind of mothballed a little bit, and then was brought into life, back into need when there was that need in February. It seems ages ago, now 2020, I think it was, when we were all kind of struggling a little bit to do our live events. Obviously, the live events industry stopped instantly. A lot of the business that was operated by Pitch, which is the sister company of Intelligo, stopped. Johnny and the directors of Pitch managed to quite quickly capitalize on the opportunities which they had premises, and they had the technical AV equipment to build a studio, a TV studio, for want of a better word, and so they built their own virtual venue in Bristol, and also started developing the Intelligo product at the same time. So instantly, clients that would hosting events that needed to broadcast a message out to their audience could use the virtual venue, which was almost like a TV studio, to facilitate their message. Completely branded, lovely LED screens behind, stage and the full lighting setup. So that was there originally, and it worked really, really well. Intelligo came on board to be able to extend it beyond that. So rather than it being streamed out on a streaming platform and become almost a webinar, which is a little bit, I've got to say, boring and lack of interaction, they built Intelligo and utilized Intelligo. And I think the first event in Intelligo, if I'm correct, was around the sort of May 2-3 months after lockdown. And since then, it's been accelerating. My personal journey with Intelligo was, my background is I'm an events person, a live events person. So this dark art of digital is not really my bag. I've been working in the events industry for, my goodness, 35 years. And so I, like everyone else, was in the same boat in February, March last year. That all stopped. All my clients stopped. I lost a lot of business. No one could travel to the UK. And I thought, what on earth can I do? And I sat on my hands and spent the quality 6 months with parents and aging parents, and having some really quality time with them, which was great. But I think we all thought it was going to be over in September, and it just didn't. So in September, I phoned around and spoke to started speaking to some platforms. Wanted to work with a platform that actually understood our industry. I think, there are a lot of tech platforms out there that don't understand what really event professionals want, and don't give that quality of service to event professionals. And I'm getting more and more frustrated by that as time goes on. But I wanted to work with a platform that was built by event professionals, run by event professionals, understood event professionals and what their end audience wanted, rather than just being a techie platform that was being seed funded. Sorry, no names. Seed funded to the max to capitalize on the opportunity. It had an ethical feel to me. So that's just to give you a bit of a broad, long introduction, but that's where I am.
I think that's also one of the, I've actually been down to the Pitch studios, and I was amazed at just how much equipment there was there. And I think, like you say, it does it definitely helps to have that backing from event professionals as well, because it's an overused phrase, but they talk our language, and I think that definitely helps to have that support side of it in there.
No, you're absolutely right. The other thing which is also worth touching on is right at the beginning, there was a lot of platforms that had a huge upfront cost, a huge annual fee that I just couldn't justify selling to an event organizer. How can you justify a 100 grand admin fee or £30,000 annual license when, quite honestly, nobody had dipped their toe in this water.
Yeah, no one knew quite how long it was going to last for either, did they? Everyone was kind of planning, is this going to be a few months and then we'll all go back to how we were before, or is this going to be a long-term thing? So yeah, I completely see what you mean there.
It felt wrong, especially when the industry was dying on its knees and not having any business. It was awful.
And so we can now look at positives, because we are seeing, I go on LinkedIn every day and I'm seeing more and more people on a train with a delegate badge, or I'm seeing them queuing up, and it's really great to see people going back to in-person events. But I do think that there's got to be an importance around, yes, we'll go back to events, yes, we'll all be walking the show floor and things like that, but I don't think that digital side's ever going to be turned off. So I want to bring in that massively overused word at the moment, and that's the word hybrid. It's getting thrown around by so many people, and I genuinely don't think people have fully got a grasp. I think it's the buzzword at the moment. People are just saying hybrid this, hybrid that. Yeah, we'll do it hybrid, it'll be fine. But nobody actually knows what it is. So I know you dislike the word, Stuart, but what is your interpretation of how the hybrid model can work going forward?
I'm not Mr. Flavor of the Month. I do not say it. I don't stick to mainstream. I'm sorry. I think proper hybrid, if you do it right, you need huge budgets, you need huge production, you need a lot of recorded material to fill in the gaps between the presenters coming on stage at live stage and what the audience sees in a virtual environment. So let's try and take it back to the nitty-gritty. A lot of people perceive hybrid as holding an in-person event and filming it live to a streamed audience.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, that isn't going to work.
Death by CCTV, I think that isn't.
Death by CCTV. You've got it, absolutely. And a lot of people don't get it. When we're watching this, and this is in bite-sized chunks. People can skip my bit. They can go on to the next bit. They can, go make a cup of tea. They aren't going to sit there for a 4-hour session watching speakers prat on about whatever they're wanting to talk about. What they want is a kind of a magazine type show, like a TV show, a breakfast on the sofa, cutting to this, VT to that, a little bit of an interview with somebody else, a chat on the sofa. They want it in bitty, bite-sized chunks, and when they want to be able to listen to it and consume it on view on demand when they want to, whether that's on a podcast or watching it on the way into work. That's how they'll consume it. So to be able to do that in a live and hybrid is really difficult. My personal view is I think that live events, I've been at numerous live events over the last couple of weeks, talking at them actually. We want them. We're touchy-feely. We need to have that personal engagement. And so there will be live events, but you'll need a virtual solution to sit alongside that as part of your overall event strategy. And then you'll record your live event and use an editing team, use a creative production AV team to chunk it up into nice little bite-sized chunks, which will go out on your Instagrams and on your social media channels and on your private YouTube channels to consume as and when you want it. That's my thought about it.
I mean, I think as well, one of the challenges that a lot of people on this event today, so it's majority marketing professionals, and I think a lot of them will be watching this thinking, well, when in-person events weren't happening, we could divert elements of our budget from what we would have spent on a trade show. We can divert elements of that into doing an online event. But once the trade shows come back, I know a lot of them are going to be thinking, well, we can't split our budget in half. And so there's a lot of challenges around that, aren't there, to be able to make sure that you're getting ROI from both elements of
That's
it.
a really good point. I think that the digital marketeers have got a huge leveraging point at this stage. I think they are going to be the gold dust of the future. I think data is going to be the thing. It's all very well creating and planning an amazing live event, but if you've got nobody there, footfall is a problem. And I think there's this perception about Zoom fatigue. Oh, it's another virtual event, but you need to make it engaging and exciting and want people to go to it. But your digital marketeers have got to engage with your customers beforehand. And this is where return on investment for the actual end user is really important. If you've got your content already in place and you can personalize your agenda for your delegates beforehand, you can start engaging about the event way beforehand. And this is where the digital marketeers have got that digital wizardry to be able to do it. And they can use the tagging systems, and you can almost bespokely tailor it before the event. Then they can engage through the event with their conversation. And then the sales team can follow up post-event and capitalize on the return on investment. But I think I'm seeing too many event professionals worrying about the technical delivery of an event rather than the engagement with the end customer. And I think they're missing that trick at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose it's bringing in that personal element, isn't it? That people don't want to feel like, they want to feel like they're being catered for and they're being cared about, I think is also one of the key things. There's nothing, I know that when we've all done online events and things, I try and keep avoiding the word webinar because, like you, it kind of fills me with a bit of dread, that word, because it's just the idea of someone talking to you. But I think what a lot of people have found is that when you're at an in-person event, so for example, I've gone to an event in London, let's say, and I'll say to colleagues, I'm going to this event, I'll check my emails during the breaks and things like that, and I'll come back to you. But sometimes when you're on an online one, and I'm sure there's people doing it right now watching, you've got a phone next to you, you've got other distractions and things that are going on. You can check your emails whilst it's happening. And I think that viewer engagement and concentration levels are quite difficult to get. So if you had to say, what would you say, Stuart, is the ideal length for a standard session that you would put on a kind of virtual or a hybrid type of event?
Oh goodness, there are some people that go on for 3 or 4 hours, but I don't know if I've got the I don't know if I've got the attention span. I would say 30, 45 minutes maximum, really.
I think attention spans were bad before the pandemic, and they're even worse now, I think, aren't they? So yeah, I definitely agree. I think those 30-minute kind of bite-sized sessions and everything are really important. So I want to talk to you around the whole sustainability side of things. So a lot of our audience are in the broadcast and media industry, and sustainability, rightly so, is a big issue at the moment. And it was pre-pandemic as well. There was a number of companies who were looking to become carbon neutral and would only work with suppliers who fitted certain criteria around that as well. But surely, as events have changed, like say you've got 30 years experience in the events industry, surely the changes that we've seen and with the digital side coming in, surely that's got to be a plus thing for the sustainability factor, hasn't it?
You know what? It's made me rethink. Without question, it's made me rethink. I used to get on a plane and take some clients, and this sounds really crazy, but I took 4 clients for a weekend educational trip to the Maldives. And it was great fun, don't get me wrong, but your carbon footprint on that to fly them out to the Maldives literally for two nights and then back again is mental, really. I've had to rethink exactly my own ethics behind it. And I did an educational trip with some buyers to Edinburgh on Friday, and we went up by train specifically for that. I think my perception of what I did before has changed. Not so much because I'm in digital, but because we've got to do something. Events can't cost the earth; they have to be sustainable. And also, I don't want to sit in a car for 5 hours to go to a meeting. So virtual is here to stay, without question. I think that the Zoom, the Teams meetings for general run of the mill will continue. But again, flying 3,000 people out to Vegas for a meeting or for a conference, it will be smaller numbers, but you'll still get larger numbers online as well for those big congresses type things. As I said, I think the market is for the digital marketeers. They've got massive careers to come, because that's where the capital lies.
Yeah, I mean, I know we found so at IABM, we used to host quarterly in-person events. So they'd normally be in a hotel in London or somewhere like that, or Cologne or somewhere. And, you would get a certain 100 number of delegates or so, let's say, and sponsorship revenues coming in as well. But the minute we moved these things online, we found that our attendance figures just went through. We were putting multiple zeros on that, and
Absolutely.
equally sponsorship opportunities were a lot higher. And I think we always just assumed that because so many people were in at a certain trade show, that must be most of the industry there. And I think now that it has opened it up for so many more people to be able to dip in and out and to be involved.
You've just got a far wider footfall past your marketplace. It's phenomenal. But it's accessing it. I guess
Yeah.
It's all very well having lots of registrations. It's making sure those people actually attend and engage. And that's why I think it's about engagement pre, during, and then that huge follow-up. It's like attending an old-fashioned exhibition. If you're on the exhibition stand and you're not engaging with the clients that are coming past, and you're drinking a cup of coffee, and your
arms folded or on your phone,
absolutely, or on your phone, it is about engagement. And people knock virtual events and say, "Oh, I just didn't get the return on investment from it." Well, you have to invest in it to get your return on investment in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the key things we've noticed. So obviously on the Intelligo platform here, we've got a partner area as well. But I think in the past, if you're at a trade show, you're going to walk along the show floor and you're going to see a booth that might get your attention, or you're going to be wandering along and you'll just stop and look at something. But I think at the beginning, we all just assumed, I know we did, we just assumed that people would scroll through a list of 400 odd partners and would click on them and have a look and things. So, it's about changing that mindset. I think that, yes, if you're at a trade show, the numbers that have walked past will be impressive, but how many of that number, we're all just blinded by the numbers. It would be like, oh, there were so many thousand people that were in the hall today, but how many of them actually engaged with you? Whereas if you're on an online platform, if you can get them to engage with you, I think that's a much more meaningful business interaction that you've had with them, isn't it?
I think the other thing, which is a marvel, I am so old-fashioned, but you've got your goldfish bowl with your business cards going in, your business card drop, and then how many people do you actually zap and scan at a trade show? The thing with a virtual platform, Intelligo, we've just actually upgraded the platform so we can add additional resources for the sponsors to give them a bigger window or a bigger marketplace. And then if somebody clicks on the sponsor's profile, which are all dynamic links, so please have a dabble on the platform, but they're all dynamic links. When you've clicked on that and you've started looking at something and you started downloading something, all of that data is captured for the sales team to follow up on, which is it's gold dust. You just don't have that on a trade show, a proper a live in-person trade show.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been scanned. I'm at random booths and stuff. I've got no intention of buying anything from the booth, and still a few years later, I still get emails from them.
Absolutely.
But I want to just quickly touch on that side of it. There are massive implications around GDPR, data sharing, and everything like that. Yeah. Do you think we're going to get to a point where so many people are unsubscribing or not wanting their data to be shared because they have a fear that they're just going to get inundated with marketing messages with the online version?
I think you're right. There's going to be a lot of noise out there, and there will be. I think we might go completely the opposite and become almost technophobes. Almost, we want to be offline, as it were, off grid. I think it's almost impossible, to be perfectly frank. But I think that there will be. In fact, I'm 90% certain we will have some fairly high profile prosecutions in terms of non-compliance of GDPR. The way I'm seeing the security on platforms as a whole, about the way that GDPR or people's data is being managed, I think there are a lot of open loops because of the speed of the platform's developments across it. That was one thing, again, which I was really keen to make sure that we had it double, treble locked, that the Intelligo platform was compliant on that. It is interesting, actually, that a lot of the event organizers haven't got their own policies, as it were, and I think there needs to be, again, a bit of direction and hand-holding to make sure that those are watertight as well. Otherwise, those sponsors, A, may not be happy, but B might capitalize on elements that she probably shouldn't do.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, so we've looked at, how hybrid can work and be effective, how important engagement is, how the sustainability factor is a big driver in this. But Stuart, if we can, and I know it's difficult because, as we said, things have moved so fast and the way the technology's changed, but can we spend the last sort of few minutes looking to the future? Where do you think this technology is going to take us? Where can we go?
My goodness, I've been asked this so many times, and again, I wish I had that crystal ball. Firstly, it's here to stay. There's no question about that. And anyone that hasn't dipped their toe in this digital world needs some hand holding and needs to get on this elevator very, very quickly. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind. It's here to stay, but it will run parallel with in-person event. I think that the new resources that will be needed, the new skill sets that will be needed, will be the new event planners of the future, the digital marketeers, the data handlers, the technical AV teams that can plug things in at the back end, that creatively design content and make you and I look pretty and make it look like we know what we're talking about, professional lower thirds and graphics. Vision mixers, V mixers, and things like that. They are going to be the next gods. But also, I think there will be a need to use TV skills that have been honed for a while to be able to, support and make our streaming or making our webinars, for want of a better word, better and more effective. The other thing which will happen is I do think we'll all be wearing headsets and we will physically be in the room in a creative metaverse.
Well, I did an interview with someone at one of IBM's BAM Live events, and we were talking about the future of trade shows and everything. And one of our members actually said that we were joking that you would have double hybrid, and he actually said triple hybrid. And he was talking about the idea of bringing in your sales staff as sort of hologram type of figures onto the booth as well. And I think, we kind of laughed slightly flippantly about it at the time, but the way technology is moving, there's no reason why that type of thing.
There is no reason. It's there. The technology is there. It's just that many people haven't engaged with it. The gamers, those teenage kids that have been sitting in their bedrooms for 5 years. Their parents are saying, you're wasting your life. They are going to be the ones that are going to be leading this revolution.
Yeah, massively. I mean, I'm going to throw one other challenge out there. We've all been to a trade show. We've all tried to pick up our emails on our phone. When you're in a kind of connectivity black spot somewhere in the middle of this trade show, huge arena, I do think trade show organizers are going to have to, because in the past, you've always paid extortionate fees to have a decent connection on your booth. I think we're going to find that that's going to be changing quite a bit, because people are going to want to stream from their booths. And if you've suddenly got 400 companies in a trade show hall, like Excel or somewhere, and they're all trying to use that bandwidth, I think I know 5G is going to help with that, but I do think we're going to see some quite interesting challenges around that from both a pricing perspective and a functionality perspective.
I was at Excel 10 days ago at a trade show, right, and we had exactly the same challenge. I was trying to do a live demo, and we didn't quite get where we needed to get to because of the Wi-Fi content.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to find that that's one of the challenges. So, okay, well, Stuart, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a really interesting conversation. And once again, thank you to you and the rest of the team at Intelligo as well. We've really enjoyed using the platform. All of the speakers that I've done tech checks with have said how, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, but how simple it was to use, which I think is a key thing here.
It's
intuitive. Avoiding overcomplicating things.
Absolutely.
People have busy lives. They don't want to download new software. They don't want to have to, overcomplicate things. They want it to work when they click on it, and that's what we found with the Intelligo platform.
And let's face it, a lot of people come on here for the first time. It's not like they're the regular users. They need to intuitively know their way around. And I'm very pleased with the feedback. Everyone says that, which is great.
And feel comfortable as well. I think there's nothing worse than if you've got a speaker or a host who's on and they're worried about their connection or anything like that. And it shows in the way that they're delivering as well, doesn't it?
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.
Excellent. Well, Stuart, once again, thanks very much.
You can be on the sales team.